Can you tell us about the biggest find that you've ever found throughout your life?
Yeah, okay, I can do, but it wasn't just me. There was two other guys involved as well. Okay,
Can we name?
Yeah, we can. There's a guy called Rico T and a guy called Barry Wickham.
Okay.
And the only reason I believe I got asked to go in on this, I got a phone call from a guy, I'd never met before in my life. I got a phone call one evening, and he says, "I know where the best soul hoard, treasure, motherlode is," right? And you've heard this story 100 times. Somebody somewhere knows where the motherlode is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I says, yeah, and he says, well, I've been in touch with John Anderson, and I said, what would you pay me for me to get you in there? So what he wanted was a finder's fee,
Right.
Basically. Okay?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, well,
Finder's fee, you pay to look at the records?
No, you pay to do. Normally, you would if somebody finds you a bunch of records, you would give him 10% of your spend.
Right.
So if you spent 10k, then he would earn £1,000 out of it.
Okay.
So this motherlode was in California, and it did exist because everybody knew about it. To give you some background into it, it was a guy who, record label owner.
Okay. Yeah.
Writer, producer, record shop owner.
So he's going to have a lot
radio
of
DJ. Right. So this guy had every attribute required to get records.
Yes. Yeah.
But better than that, he was an entrepreneur who would say on his radio show, if you want your record to be a hit, send me it now. Very clever man, because he would be sent records from absolutely all over the country, all over California. He would just get sent records, and he would either sell them in his shop, or he would play them on his radio show occasionally, whatever. But he had the best hoard of records ever. The story goes, and this is only alleged, I don't know whether this is 100% true, a really big dealer in America got in touch with this guy.
God, look at those.
Yeah, they're lovely. Got in touch with this guy and said to him, I will give you $10,000 just to go into your warehouse,
Right.
to look at the records, and I will only buy 10 records. Now this guy
It's a lot of faith.
This guy did not allow anybody to look at his records, and he didn't particularly get on with white people either. So the chances of getting in there, but the law of $10,000, you're only going to buy 10 records. That's big.
Yeah.
That's big. So anyway, so he let the guy in, and the guy was true to his word. He bought 10 records. Now the story goes, and I am saying this is a story because I don't have it firsthand from the person that was involved, although I do know the person that was involved. I've never asked him if it is true. But he wanted to go for a second go.
Right.
So he offered the guy $10,000 to go in there and do the same thing. And the guy says, okay. Now the guy took his $10,000 and didn't let him in the warehouse, which was very naughty. Now, the guy, to get his $10,000 back, took legal action against him. Now, unbeknown to everybody, is that this guy already owed tax to the government. And
the guys whose records it was.
Yeah, the guy who had all the records, he had 250,000 records, there's 250,000 records, who nobody had ever looked at, not since he closed his shop down in '72. He was then in trouble with the IRS.
Right.
He owed money. So the IRS went in and took his records.
The entire record collection.
Well, he was a very clever man, this guy, although he wasn't so clever business deal-wise, because he did a lot of things that were negative rather than productive. He thought, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hide all my Beatles, I'm going to hide all my doo-wop, and I'm going to hide all my Rolling Stones and things like that in a different place. Now, if they're going to take my records, they can have all that soul shit. You know, all those obscure labels
okay.
that were sent to me from all over the country. Although all these in these packets from Duke, Atlantic.
So this potentially was an
Duke
absolute
Atlantic,
gold mine for all
King,
these soul collectors.
Bell, Bang, Chess.
Are these all unopened?
They were unopened at the time.
Are they open now?
So yeah, they're open now. Yeah, I couldn't resist it. I just open like one every so often, but they're all open now. But anyway, no, I get to this story. Anyway, the IRS came in and took away his records, and they were put up for auction. Now, unfortunately, me, Barry Wickham, and Rico T never got our names in time to bid on the auction. So we had to buy the right to bid from a guy who had put his name in time.
Oh my god, it's like a
Right,
massive
it's
pyramid.
massive. So everything was split not 3 ways, it's split 4 ways. I could have 30%, Barry Wickham could have 30%, Rico T could have 30%. The guy who gave us the right to bid took 10% but didn't pay any money. So he actually gave us the right to bid on his name, but didn't pay any money but could take 10% of this load.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess your way of paying him was giving him 10% of what
Well,
you get.
you'd look through records and you go 3, 3, 3, 1, no matter what it was, and we had boxes all lined up. It took over a week to get the records sorted out. But this is the thing I'm always trying to teach my son, that if you want to go through life, you need to make friends, but you also need to build trust with people. So about a year earlier, Barry Wickham was at the record fair in Austin. He found a good record. He found a Terry Callier, Look at Me Now on Chess, you know. And he says to me, I passed his stall, and Barry says, "What's this worth, John?" And I said, "Well, 150, 200," which it was at the time. This was in the early 2000s. This was 15 years ago. He says, "Fine." Fortunately for me, another English dealer came along. I said, "What's that there?" He said, "Oh, it's a Terry Callier." He says, "How much did you pay for that?" And Barry says, "Oh, I got it for $3. He says, "I'll give you 10. This other English dealer.
Right.
So when it came down to pulling people in for the deal, they rang me. And I honestly think that they rang me on the fact that I was pretty honest with Barry.
Well, it does pay to, like you said. It does
so that's why I'm always trying to teach my son to be as straightforward as you possibly can, because there's better paybacks further down the line. They went to auction by the IRS in California. It was in Oakland, California. And we won it. We had to pay $230,000 for the records.
Goodness.
$230,000. That was between 3 of us. We got in there. It was absolutely incredible. There was 100 count boxes of £400 records. There was 25 count boxes of £3,000 records, and it was unbelievable. Absolutely, totally unbelievable.
It must have been.
It's sort of like. It had a good effect. Obviously, we got great records. They were all mint. Everything was mint, which was great. And then I went and bought, after we did the deal, I went and bought Rico's good ones off him. So I ended up with like 2/3 of the deal, really. But they were all mint. They were great.
And what were some examples of what you found?
Well, and this is an example of how people can be. Some people haven't spoken to me since. People I used to be friends with haven't spoken to me. Just because will not speak to me under any circumstances because we got this deal. So what they did was the other dealers tried to mess up the whole of the deal. There's 300 copies of Jackie Dane's Naughty Boy, but there wasn't. There was 13. Or 14,
so
maybe 15 at the most, but 300 to try to kill the record. I just noticed that I haven't got any copies anymore, they're all gone. I just noticed it went on eBay like just last month for more money than I got when I had the 15. For me, it epitomises Northern Soul. Great girl vocal. There's 13 copies, but by the time other dealers had finished with a story. There's 300. Don't buy Jackie Day, whatever you do. There's 300 of them, which was ridiculous, really, because every record they could think of, there was 300, which would have ended up with us having something like 20 million records. We'd have to have had, because 300 times whatever, 300 times 1,000 records, 1,000 different titles is, a lot of records.